Welcome to today's edition of the AI Eye, watching stock news, deal tracker, and advancements in artificial intelligence. Hello everyone, this is Sam Mowers here. Welcome to a special edition of the AI Eye featuring an interview with Danny Rittman, that's the CTO of GBT Technologies Inc. GBT Technologies is a development stage company which considers itself a native IoT creator, developing Internet of Things and artificial intelligence-enabled mobile technology platforms. GBT trades on the OTC Pink under the ticker symbol GTCH. Also mentioned in this podcast is Banix Acquisition Corp, which trades on the NASDAQ under the ticker symbol BNIX. Now, for this interview, Danny discusses the company's Apollo IP, and in particular, its use in the EV autonomous vehicle company. So without further ado, here's my latest conversation with Danny Rittman. Danny, thanks for joining us. Always a pleasure to have you back on the podcast.
Thank you very much for having me today.
So today we're discussing the company's Apollo IP. We've talked about it before, but it has been a while. Is it possible for you to give us a brief explanation, give us a quick breakdown of Apollo?
Sure. Apollo is what we call a computer vision system that is a combination technologies of radio and artificial intelligence. As we all hear nowadays, artificial intelligence is a very big hype in the media because of all recent events and technologies developed by companies, if it's OpenAI, if it's Google, Microsoft. But actually, Apollo is a very quite smart, intelligent application that is heavily based on AI. And here we see AI in the field of computer vision. In a sense, and I'll take a few seconds here more just to explain and remind what Apollo is. The Apollo system is what we call a AI control radio transmission that is send radio waves, electromagnetic waves into the air. They get hit, they hit objects, if it's humans, if it's live tissues, if it's a non-live object, and the reflections are basically received back by the system. These reflections, of course, and there are millions of them, I'm talking about per second, million, billions, are fed into an AI engine, which is a bunch of algorithms, quite advanced neural networks, and we have plenty of others. I'm not going to get too technical. And then these reflections of these radio waves are analyzed to build and create 2D or 3D live scenery of what basically in front of the system, what we transmitted. So Apollo is a great computer vision system, but besides its capabilities to see, I would say it's an eyes, using radio and AI combination, it also can do many other things because it's detecting such a high resolution of volumetric changes. We can do way more than just seeing. For example, I can take human vitals in the scanned area, which can be, quite large, and detect, heartbeats, oxygen level, even BP, and body temperature. We can detect humans fall. We can detect if I put it into a vehicle, let's say in a bus or a train or a plane, I can say, actually, I can count people. So, okay, I have, 48 people in this bus per se. And so many others, other type of applications can be done using Apollo. So we consider it one of its main IPs we have. We filed a patent. We actually have a granted patent. We have another continuation patent going, and we plan to continue furthermore in this development in this area.
Now, with all that in mind, can you talk a bit about some recent news from GBT regarding an LOI, that's a letter of intent, with Banix Acquisition Corp?
Right. So with Banix, it's very encouraging news because we have here a company that is interested to actually take Apollo and use it in one of the major fields of today, which is autonomous vehicles. It's part of the great advantage of Apollo because Apollo, as I mentioned, can see. I'm talking about, a few hundred feet. If I actually use a larger antennas and power, I can cover miles of computer vision in 360 degrees around a car, for example, or any type of vehicle. It can be a car, it can be a robot. But the recent LOI is actually with a company that, I'm assuming you mean the EV, autonomous vehicles that have a nice, I would say, business plan to incorporate the Apollo system, the Apollo technology, within autonomous vehicles for a few domains, not just to see, also maybe as a backup system. They may keep the current typical standard, I would call it, technologies like LIDAR and ultrasonic and optical sensing devices technology, and may use Apollo as a redundant system or an additional system for better safety, security, etc. That's part of the discussions we had. But the good news is that Apollo here, we're going to probably see Apollo in the next 1 to 2 years in a live application, as it was intended to be.
Now, Stephen Lake, the CEO of EV Autonomous, the company you mentioned there, is quoted in a recent press release as describing Apollo's value as a backup to EV's core AI and radar control sensors. Can you expand a bit more on how Apollo might be a good fit for EV?
Sure. As the current, autonomous vehicles is not a new technology. We have it, I would say, almost the past 2 decades here. So there are already, quite hefty and quite advanced technologies to be used in autonomous vehicles. Some of them optical, some of them ultrasonics, and all of them are good and viable. We already see autonomous vehicle going. We have LIDAR, we have name it, and we have it. And I believe that he intends to still use these type of technologies. But since Apollo has, we define it as another layer of resolution, another layer of accuracy, another layer of reliability. For example, the Apollo system does not suffer from any type of external conditions. For example, weather conditions do not affect it. Fog or rain or any type of things that typically may cause temperature, things like this, it may cause some difficulties sometimes with the current known standard technologies. Apollo doesn't suffer from all this. Apollo is reliable, is working in all conditions, and even furthermore, it actually can work through underground, underwater. I mean, it has capabilities because it's based on radio and a wide variety of frequencies that we're sending them. We can basically see everything at all times, which makes Apollo a very good system. Maybe in the future it will completely replace the current known technology. We don't know, but definitely as what we call a redundant system, or not redundant is not the right one, as a backup, as you mentioned, to oversee the overall operation of a vehicle can be a great application for it. Besides this, we also know that we're going to discuss and present other possibilities of Apollo, like, for example, counting number of people inside a vehicle, emergency situation detection, if there's any health emergency on board, all the way to reporting, identifying. Apollo can actually detect, of course, by permission, and all this for privacy reasons, but it can actually identify, persons of interest or concealed weapons. And it can does all, then after that, system can contact the authorities, the vehicle can stop. If it's a bus, there's a vast amount of possibilities of what Apollo can do. And we plan to actually offer this to the EV company to see which one they want to adopt first or later. But we are very encouraged yes, but they may start as a backup system, as a system that will oversee the overall operation of the vehicles, and later may incorporate more features of it.
Now, touching on that, it sounds like the Apollo has applicability in other domains, maybe even outside of autonomous vehicles in generally. Could you talk about a bit of the potentiality of Apollo in other spaces, maybe?
Of course, beside this, because Apollo has this capability of basically operating in any medium, any type of medium, it can be used in a vast amount of domains. I can just mention here only a few. For example, in the medical field, okay, we can wirelessly measure human vitals, just by putting a box in a room, and then I can all the time monitor heart rate, emotional stress, fall, SpO2 even, blood pressure, without wearing anything. Another type of application is even, again, another in the medical field is actually scanning and looking into a human body completely, again, in not invasive way. Everything is done via radio wave, and by the reflection, I can actually look into veins, detecting clogs into veins, and many other things that currently require all kind of invasive method to go and take actually, imaging and do more, diagnostics for the health. But and if we look, for example, at the military operations, we can actually provide a night vision, for example, that again does not have any effect due to weather condition or fogs or lack of light of starlights and other. The Apollo system can be an amazing rescue system as well. If some, for example, people are stuck underground in caves, it's fairly easy to go underground and detect where people location, God forbid the earthquake and people collapse the buildings, easy and trivial to do it as well. So there's a wide variety of application that Apollo can be adapted to. We just need to offer it, or we need to find the right partners that actually want to say, okay, I'm going to invest in this direction, and take it from there.
Great. Danny, is there anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
No, I believe we covered everything. Just the last thing, today there's a lot of hype about all the AI, and everybody say, oh, we need to limit it, and there's a lot of restrictions, and they should be, absolutely, because AI can also be used for wrong purposes and can do damage also in its own way. So I definitely agree with that too. We need some litigations and lawmakers to put some restrictions and some kind of boundaries into AI. But we think that Apollo system is actually a great example of where AI can benefit society. This is a very positive AI application. Means I don't here invade, privacy or anything. Here I'm using AI to actually do what we call the good things. Okay, there's no risk here. To look forward if it's controlling, giving the eyes for automatic vehicles, if it's helping in the medical field and helping people, to cure people from diseases or detect them online. So this is what we call one of the positive applications of AIs. There's no risks, there's no issue here with other things. And we believe that Apollo has a great future as we see it in the next decade.
And that's it for today's AI. If you would like to be a guest or sponsor for this podcast, contact InvestorIdeas.com. Investor Ideas reminds all listeners to read our disclaimers and disclosures on the InvestorIdeas.com website, and this podcast is not an endorsement to buy products or services or securities. Investors are reminded all investment involves risk and possible loss of investment. To hear more InvestorIdeas.com podcasts, please visit InvestorIdeas.com/audio. And a reminder, you can also hear our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Audible, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, and most audio platforms available. To learn more about GBT Technologies Inc., please visit gopherprotocol.com or visit the InvestorIdeas.com profile page at investorideas.com/co/GOPH. And for disclosure purposes, GBT Technologies is a PR, news, and social media featured company on InvestorIdeas.com.